Hello, bold ones. Today on the podcast, I have a very special guest, actor Jerry Kwarteng. He is not only a really interesting actor, he's also a very good friend of mine. So I'm super excited about this because Jerry, more than anyone I know, is the most business minded actor. And he has developed a system for networking and for creating job opportunities for himself that I think you all are going to find very interesting. So, Jerry, welcome to the podcast. I'm thrilled to finally have you on.
Thank you. I'm very excited to be invited and to talk with you about business opportunities, the industry itself, and well,
Yeah,
what else we can come up with.
absolutely. Well, I want to start by saying I think in some ways you kind of have an advantage because you came to acting a little bit later in life after studying law, right? You
Yeah,
have a degree in law.
exactly. I do have a degree in lawyer.
And now, did you minor in business or was it just a straight degree in law?
No, it was actually just a straight degree in law. In Germany, you have two degrees. You have to have university and everything what includes, and you have the practical part. And I did the whole university part.
Okay, okay. Now, did you ever practice law?
No, I never actually practiced law in an office. I did work for a firm very briefly, but it was part of my universal studies. So, but my dad
Okay,
was a politician and a lawyer.
yeah.
So I grew up with that. So,
So you let him influence you all the way through school, and then you said, "Dad, I did it. Now I'm going to do my own thing."
well, actually, I knew I wanted to become an actor very early in my life. And my dad was a typical German dad, said, okay, first get something stable before you get all these ideas and trying to get a profession that won't pay. And, and well, yeah. So I studied law, and his dream for me was becoming a politician.
Oh, wow.
And,
Okay.
and, and I was interested in that. I'm very interested in politics, and, but I don't have the patience for it.
I can understand that. I mean, it's a whole different ballgame, right? Politics are just something else entirely. So, what was the point where so you say you always wanted to be an actor, but
Exactly.
when was it always the plan to study acting after law school, or was it just something that was kind of in the back of your mind? Or tell me how that came about.
Well, actually, I started to be an actor when I was a kid. I played theater when I was a kid, and I had my first roles when I was a teenager. And the roles that I've done were always drug dealer or immigrant or something like that. And I never got any part as a normal character. And I was like, was the time between 17 to 19. And honestly, I thought I'm too cool to play an immigrant, or I'm too cool to be
Too
like,
smart to play a drug dealer.
yeah, exactly, exactly. Something like
Yeah.
that, because I wanted to be like a hero, like I remembering seeing Eddie Murphy in Beverly Hills Cop. And I was like,
Mm.
that's what I want to do. And why I always have to be like somebody really unimportant and or a bad guy or something very stereotypical, something that I don't actually want to do well or want to portray. And I did understand that obviously you have to get these roles into the industry as well because they're true, but it was very one-sided. And I remembering one shoot where the director told me I have to I had part of a street I don't know what you call it in English, like a street salesman. I was selling stuff on the street, and it was very
Selling drugs
embarrassing.
or just
No, no, no,
selling?
no, just actually that's apes. And I was supposed to be on the street yelling out King Kong, because I had
Ah,
like
okay.
this apes,
Like the cassettes or something.
exactly,
Yeah.
something like that.
Yeah.
And the director told me, yeah, no, you have to take a piss of yourself. I know that stuff like this is happening. And I was so frustrated by that because like if everybody on set knew that this bullshit, why do you do it? And on top of that, I always heard people saying to me, oh, well, we need to speak with an accent because this doesn't make any sense for a black person to speak perfect German. So, and when, and remember now, imagine you're 18, 19,
Yeah.
um, trying to get into the business, trying to follow your dreams and not really knowing the industry, just being
Mm.
motivated and having a dream and having like a wish to do acting. I was so frustrated that I actually quit acting.
Oh,
And
wow.
and by that time I started studying in your university. And when I was done with university, I was actually honest said, now what do I want to do now? I know I don't want to become a
A
lawyer.
lawyer. Yeah.
I know I don't want to become a politician. And so I was actually hanging in the air and didn't know what to do. So I said, okay, I'm going to travel and just think of what my next step's going to be in life. And so went abroad and went to Spain. And my intention was just to stay there for a year or until I could speak the language. But I could speak Spanish after 4 months, roughly. And I said, okay, I have no still idea what I'm going to do. So, um, so just stayed in Spain and started working there. And I wasn't really happy. But I met my girlfriend and we had a son and the thing just went along.
Oh, wow.
And
You were really young when you had your first child.
yeah, well, not that young, also like mid 20s and 20s.
Oh, okay. Okay. I
So
thought 18, 19. Okay.
yeah,
And this is after university.
exactly.
Okay.
I studied
Yeah.
when I started with 18, university, 5 years. And then I was like early mid 20s when I said, okay, don't know what to do now. And I came back to Germany because there was a economic crisis in Spain. And me and my girlfriend, we were like looking around what we're going to do now. And she started a business. And I said, okay, I'm the homestay dad now. And I was thinking now, okay, acting never left me. Everything what I did, every job that I did because I had to earn money, but I never did anything that I wanted to. And acting never left me. And I said, okay, I'm going to try one more. The last was I didn't want to die and said, oh, what if you done that? Or what if you have, because I never really tried, because I gave up too early in my opinion.
Yeah.
So I went to an audition for a street casting and I didn't get the role, but I met a young actress there who was working at an acting school, private acting school. She said, you're very good, you're very talented, but you need more training. Why don't you come to our school and enroll? This was like a 2-year program, a year and a half. And to me, this was a sign to start back up again. So I went to the school. I started back at zero. And during this school, well, during my studies at the school, I tried to find an agency, try to find an agent in Germany. And all the agents that I contacted said, well, you actually have a great look. You already have talent. And we could tell that you're become a great actor, but you're black and there won't be any parts for you in this country. So, and I was like, again, frustrated. Said like, it's been like more than 10 years that I gave
Yeah.
up on acting and nothing has really changed.
When was
So,
that around? That was like early,
well, it was
I
like
was
2010,
10.
2011, something.
Yeah.
No,
Okay.
2011, actually,
Yeah.
2011. Mm, and I was, again, really frustrated. And then one agent called me back because there was an audition for a commercial with a huge amount of money. And they were looking for black people. And said, oh, we would love to present you for this commercial. I said, no, you can't because you're not my agents. I only will accept you to send me to this audition if you're really my agent, not just for one job, but you take
Good
me
for
on
you. Knew, so you
as a
leveraged
client.
that. Yeah.
Exactly. So
That
they were
was
like, of
smart.
course we're going to take you on as a client. We always were thinking about it. And I was like, yeah,
Germany.
right.
Yeah.
Naturally, yeah, of course you were. So they took me on as a client. I didn't get the job. So, but like this,
As you mentioned.
this, yeah, but I figured that, because like audition, it's always like it's luck in the end. Everybody comes in with talent. They wouldn't audition you if they wouldn't have talent. It's not about you having talent or not. It's about, yeah, about so many different things. So I
Absolutely.
always
And
knew
I
it's
think
about luck.
yeah,
Sorry.
it is about luck, and I think also the agents and the casting directors and the directors and everybody's aware that if you get asked to audition, you get asked to a callback, you're good enough to be a part of it. Now it's
Exactly.
just a question of, whether you work with everybody else or whatever.
Well, there's so many different items I would love to
Yeah.
get with you into that later on, but at the beginning, at that time, I didn't know. But I had already the feeling I might not get this, but at least I want to get an agent out of this.
Yeah.
So, so they signed me, and actually, I didn't know if were they really happy about it, but they signed me. So, and then actually started getting parts for acting, and
So they started sending you out on auditions. Do you feel like they were fighting for you, or do you feel like it was just sort of
well, they didn't send me out to audition because it's not how Germany works, I believe. I got them myself. That's actually when I started to network.
okay?
I wasn't really aware on how I would. Well, I didn't do it at the level I'm doing it now. Let's say it like this. I
Yeah.
started networking because I was working. Besides when I was studying for law, I was working in a company, in a marketing company, and this is where I learned how to network as well on marketing and stuff. So
Amazing. Okay.
so
Yeah.
I knew I knew when they told me, there won't be any parts for you in Germany, for as a black German, you always have to be a foreigner. I knew that is bullshit, and I knew if I ever wanted to play somebody else than a foreigner or a drug dealer or something very stereotypical, I would need to create this opportunity. I would need to create this image by myself on my own.
Yeah.
So I have to. I had a boss once who said, "You always have to create the need
Mhm.
yourself." So I said, "Okay, I'm gonna have to create the need for actors like." And so I started without even knowing how to do it. I started networking with people in the industry who have a say in something. Who can take decisions, who can make decisions and say, "Right, this is what I want. This is how I go for it, or whatever." So I started to network with directors because this was my first idea. Like, if anyone could make a decision, it should be a director.
So, can we talk about that for a sec? What did you start to do to reach out to directors in the beginning?
Always was very horrible, to be honest. Well, I actually it was not that horrible, but I started writing emails, and my first problem was, oh, how do I find the email address of the directors? So I started saving up this because we are Germans, we write everything down. And when you shoot, they give you like a list with all the context of this project. And I started
Yeah.
saving those.
Yeah.
So I had like at least a few of these contexts that I could write to. And then I started out with Crew United. And I was like, okay, who was working with whom on these particular projects? And once you do that, you see really quickly that they're mainly always the same persons working together, probably because they don't want to change a winning team. So, and then that's how I got into finding out who's working with whom, the redacteure, like people who work for the networks, mainly always
Yeah.
work with the same directors, work with the same producers. And this is how step by step I kind of uh, found out myself, okay, who are the person I need to contact if I want to do that or want to play that. But I didn't write them like, "Oh, I'm an actor, I want to work." I wrote them differently. I wrote them, "Look, you need to change something in this industry, and you need to change perspective, and you need to change the image of the people because your pictures are traveling, and what you're showing is very one-sided."
And
So
damaging.
yeah, well, I didn't know it at the time, but I was always
Yeah.
trying to put myself out there, not as an actor, but more as a solution to a problem that they have, and they don't even realize they have it. Uh,
Right.
That's it. I want to play. And so wrote them, I want to play something different than a drug dealer. I want to play something different than a foreigner. And please explain to me why you think that this is not possible. So this is how I started, like
Yeah.
a little bit
So
of a
really
rebel.
putting them on the spot, but in a good
Exactly.
way, like I know you and you're not confrontational, but you are, you are very direct.
I'm
So
very
I can
direct. Yeah.
imagine. Yeah. Yeah. So I
Yeah.
can imagine how you did that.
Yeah, and this wasn't always the smartest way to go about it, to be honest. Some were like not offended, but they, of course, if you put someone in the spot, they're gonna react like it's whoa, whoa, what you doing, like
Mm.
so. And so but at the same time, I always said this is a problem, but I offer you a solution as well. Why don't we try that? Why don't you put me in that? Why can't I be that? So, and I met some incredible people who said, yeah, you're right. Why not? So let's write you into that like that. Let's put you into that. But just very, very small roles, like day player roles. But
Yeah.
it changed my mindset because it's showed me it's possible that there are people out there who are willing to try something different. And it's not out of the
Yeah.
world. It's not out of the world that a black person can be
It's
a
not out of the
lawyer.
question.
Yeah,
Absolutely not.
so and
Yeah.
and when people told me, we don't know any black lawyers, I said, I'm one. You talk
Yeah.
to one. You were like,
Yeah.
oh, really? It was, yeah, I have a law degree, so it's true. Like
Yeah.
because lots of people told me, well, I can't put you as a policeman. It's not true. They're not black policemen. I said, yeah, I know. My cousin is a black policeman, so it's like, it's true. So stuff
And
like this,
also, I also think it's our responsibility as filmmakers to show the world unless it's specific to the story, you know, why something where someone doesn't work in a role. But if it if under any other circumstances, I think it's our responsibility to show the world as it should be and as it could be, and
exactly,
not
exactly.
reflect it as it is at its worst, you know?
Exactly, exactly. Well, I believe truly as an artist, you should be allowed to tell the stories the way you want to tell it. But at the same time, you need to be open to criticism on this project that you've been doing. Because
And
if
to
you
question it yourself. Why?
exactly,
Why have I
exactly,
written this person
exactly,
as a 150-year-old man,
exactly.
right?
I
As
do understand.
opposed to, yeah,
I
anything
mean, I,
else.
I mean, I do understand the rules of the business and that behind everything is the need to make money. I do understand
Yeah.
that. We all need to understand that we all go into this business with just having the creative mindset and just having the idea of, okay, let's do something great together. Let's create something and having a really romantic view on the industry. And in my workshop, for example, this is the first thing that I'm going to strip you off. Yeah, because like, if you're just going to view this from a romantic side of how it should be and what the possibilities could be like, um, it's going to frustrate you. You have to see at the same time business side of it, and the movies have to make money. They have to be financed, and that's every country is doing it differently. So therefore, you have different opportunities in different countries. For example, the Americans, they have different opportunities because they finance the movie in a different way. So they need, for instance, in Germany, mainly our movies are financed with state funding to up to 90, even sometimes 100%. So having that in mind, this has one advantage that don't have, you don't need money as a producer yourself. You can start off with funding. And if the movie doesn't work, you didn't lose money. You just go on to the next one.
Yeah.
And obviously, if your movie makes money, you have to pay back this funding. But if it fails and you don't make money, you don't have to pay it back. This is one of the reasons. So the Americans, they don't have this opportunity. If your movie fails, this company is bankrupt. That's just therefore they have to have a close understanding on what the audience might like to see. Instead of Germans, we don't have that because like we want to reach the audience. Obviously, everyone wants to reach the audience. But if we fail this with one movie, there's no repercussions to it. There's no, well,
And
then
yet
the
you
money
would
is
think that that
lost.
would give the Germans more freedom, and it doesn't seem to,
No,
you
it's
know?
actually the opposite. Actually, the
Yeah.
opposite. It keeps you in a cage And I believe this is something what happens in the industry right now, because like nobody really, even though we are trying to make good movies, and we do make good movies, but um, we are repeating ourselves so much. Like we have too many crime shows because we at one point we saw, oh, this is going to happen. This works in Germany. German people like to work crime shows. They like to see that. Then they said, all right, look at these comedies. They work very well. Germans like to watch German comedy shows, and we have historic pieces. But what doesn't work at all for us is action movies or genre movies. What kinds of ever doesn't work here. And I was always wondering why that is, because as you can see, like any Indian, any French movie, any American movie has its topic, as a genre, does work in Germany as well.
Although
So
Cobra Elf did really well for a while.
yeah, but it's also only one, to be honest. As well as
Yeah, it was. It's the only one I can think of, but it did do really well. I remember my husband used to
it
watch that
exact,
religiously.
exactly it worked fantastically. So everybody should wonder, why don't we try this more? Because
Yeah,
we saw that we
expensive.
have. It's expensive, exactly, and the I don't know. Probably worse with crime shows. I believe you have like a safe bank, and to me as an artist, this was always completely crazy, this idea, because if I would talk to a painter and say, hey, this painting that you painted did very well, so very well, paint me exactly the same thing, he's gonna look at me like crazy. I can't paint the same thing twice. Doesn't make any sense, because it's not gonna be the same authentic way that it did before. You can't
Yeah.
create something twice. And this is what we're trying to do in our industry. We try to recreate something that we already did, and hope that it has the same response. So, and this has boxed us into a corner, because we want to make money. We need to make money. And if something else doesn't work, we got to cut it, you know, and not having in mind that we need time to develop something like this. Like the Americans didn't start off with action movies and said, oh, we graded it. They made a bunch of shitty movies over a decade of years before they became great at it.
100 years, actually.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah.
Yeah. So you need to have this time to develop something and to find your voice, because like, to me, if it comes to German action movies, Germans didn't find their voice yet. They copy other
Mm.
countries. They're copying other styles, but they're not saying, okay, let's try this our own way. The French, for example, if I watch a French movie, I know it's French after 2 minutes. If I watch a
Mm.
Swedish movie, I know it's Swedish after 2 minutes, even though I didn't know it before, because they have their unique style. Everybody has a unique style. And Germans, when it comes to these kinds of movies, we don't have a unique style, the German style. We copy other styles when it comes to direction, when it comes to camera, when it comes to looks. So
But it's interesting, and I do agree with you on that. But you see, like, a lot of countries are really trying to focus in on diversity, as they should be. And Germany is too. It definitely is, but I still feel like Germany's behind on.
yeah, it is completely, because as well as the understanding of what diversity means. First of all, we Germans, we are very, very practical. This is not always a smart thing to do, because what we do is we have diversity, we put everything in a bowl. We said, this is our bowl of diversity.
Well, anybody
And
who's not like blonde, blue-eyed German,
exactly, exactly.
we're diverse.
It's into that.
Yeah.
It's like we just put it all in there. So we have POC, we have women over 40, we have handicapped people, we have queer people.
Heavier people.
Exactly. So indigenous
Yeah.
people. So we have everything in one bowl, and we just pick, like like for a recipe, like we pick something like an item and put it into our stories.
Got one.
So to me, it's
Throw that
exactly.
one
So to
in.
me, it's just like a checklist. It's like,
Yeah.
okay, we need more, or we have like a total white cast. We need more color. Let's get an African, or let's get a Turkish German actor into that, or even better, let's get a Turkish German female actor in a
Lesbian.
wheelchair. So
Yeah, or
we
yeah.
so we check some boxes. So,
Right.
and I don't think they do this with malintent. It just has
No,
something
I
with
don't think so either.
understanding. Yeah, it's something with understanding of perspective. So, and other countries, and to be honest, the countries didn't get it right either at the beginning.
Mhm.
They explored it more. For example, the Americans, they got it wrong for years and years and years and years, you know,
Yeah.
and they even had a huge amount of people not looking white as an audience. And so they had like the BET, the Black Entertainment Industry, who did their
Yeah.
own movies. They explored more stories from a female perspective. They did all that and still didn't get it right. They only they only are working towards this goal in I would say, the last 8 years. So
Mhm.
in this point, they actually started to
What was it from
change.
Oscars to white? No, that whole
Exactly,
thing, right?
exactly,
Yeah.
exactly. This is when
Yeah.
it really took off, in my opinion, as well. And what I was watching in America was something really inspiring, that they changed the perspective of stories already told. For example, they went into their own history and said, okay, we told these stories from a white perspective. Let's tell the story from a black perspective or from an Hispanic perspective. So this actually when audience changed as well, because the audience today is not as it was in the 50s or 60s. Not only white people are watching television, everybody is watching it. And since the society changed, you have way more mixing of society. You have way more white people mixing with blacks and Hispanic and Turkish people. You have families who are mixed. So, for example, my kids are mixed as well. So they're not particularly going to watch just a white hero or um, a story with a female, centered on a female. They want to watch somebody who looks like that. And
Yeah.
representation does really matter, for the audience. And the thing is that they told me at the beginning of my career was like, white people will not understand why this black person is a hero or something. And I said, this bullshit, because when I watch the story and I watch the white hero, I as well follow the story if it's in the story. I was like, so this doesn't add up. You
Well,
know, S-
people, I think Will Smith was the one that really changed that because he became the biggest box office star in the world. So then they could
Probably, yeah,
think, you know,
probably. But there
unfortunately,
were so many, yeah, but
but
there were so many different, like recently, obviously, the superhero industry brought something to the table when they did Black Panther, for example.
yeah.
And I realized this Black Panther was a huge box office because they put the same amount of money into these movies as they did with others. So
Mm.
and it was just a black story with mainly black actors. So, and it did very well on the box office. And white people, white kids were inspired to follow these heroes, and they got this.
Yeah. I mean, I
So it
think kids
was
are open. If they haven't been tainted by their parents, they just like what they like and they like who they like and they don't really care,
exactly.
so
So meaning that following the example, meaning like, okay, there's money into that. So there's money
yeah.
in diversity. That's why everybody's kind of wants to put more diversity in their stories. But the way to do it is not to do it as in a checklist. It's more to change perspectives.
Yeah.
And
Films
to
like I
me,
think go ahead.
sorry, and then to me in Germany, that means the movies that we are doing, keep doing it, but as well try to do other movies with other pictures. I
And
will
from a
never
different
say
point of view. Like
exactly.
Moonlight to me was a great example
Exactly,
of that.
exactly.
Yeah.
I will never try to tell Germans not do your movies, but there's room for more, and this is what is
Yeah.
really important, that we understand that if you keep going like that, especially in these times when it comes to the industry, it's we it's going to be really, really hard for the German market to be relevant, because we need to change more perspectives in our stories, because like look at the Americans right now. The industry is going so fast through streaming and things what's going on there. So it's really, really complicated to be on top of the game. There's a strike in America right now when it comes to the conditions of the industry, which is completely correct and
Absolutely. We're fighting for the soul of our industry. If we can't support ourselves
exact
as artists,
exactly. And it's
it's
all about
over.
but it's all about money and stuff like this. So it is important to look at the roots of this industry and to understand how we could go forward, not to follow the example of the Americans, but to look at our own industry in Germany and see how can we achieve a wider ground for a broader audience.
Germany's very stuck on the one history, and there are many histories here. So that's kind of, Germany's stuck on World War II in a lot of ways, and they're still
Yeah,
telling
yeah,
that
because it
story
works,
and
because it
also,
sells, because it
yeah,
sells.
but there are a lot of stories, and the only way to change people's mind, which kind of brings me back to branding, the only way to change people's mind about the way you should be seen is to show them how you want to be seen.
Exactly, exactly. And this is to me is this is it's a complicated way, to be honest. Because it has so different aspects. If you think about branding in general, everybody understands a brand. Like in my workshop, for example, I always give the very simplest explanation, which is like Coca-Cola. Like you will never confuse Coca-Cola with any other brand because you know what
Right.
it looks like. It has typical trademarks. It has a white writing on red,
Yeah.
background. So
Yeah.
you you understand the taste, you understand what's in it, you understand the whole concept behind it. So this is one aspect of what you as an actor could do. You could say, okay, I want to be very, very sure about my brand, how the industry sees me when they think about me. And it's this actually what all the actors who are, in my opinion, successful have been doing for years and years and years in any country, in any country. If you
Yeah.
look,
I
if
agree.
you look, if you look at America, Tom Hanks, you know exactly what kind of movie you're gonna get way in the 80s, 90s when you were thinking about Tom Hanks because he was a comedian. He didn't change to the more dramatic side of his work until he was in his late 30s, because like I think Philadelphia was the one
Yeah.
who changed everything for him. Before then he was all doing comedy. In Germany, the same thing. We have actors like Til Schweiger, for example, who you know exactly what kind of movie you're gonna get when you go into a Til Schweiger movie. Like
Yeah.
or
But I
or
wonder how much he shaped that. Like, I know, for instance, you made a conscious effort to shape how people saw you, how people perceived you, so that you could be cast the way you wanted to be cast.
exactly. The thing is, like, but you need to understand the business as well, because like, even though we want to cast people very creatively, it doesn't only work like this. This has to do with funding. It has to do with who can we even put in the role in order to get money. So you
Yeah.
need to be an actor who has a high market value, can raise your own market value. On top of that, for myself, I knew if I wanted to be cast in something different and I wanted to do different roles, I need to understand how the industry sees Black people and how they contributed to the industry. And we are only have been shown stereotypical. So we were not important. We were like an add on. Okay, we need a drug dealer or we need a token in the story. So let's put an immigrant in who doesn't even speak real German. So I said, okay, I need to change it. I don't need to brand myself like that in order to get roles because these are the roles they will think of me anyways. You know,
Right.
so I will need to show them that I can be seen differently. So I put myself. I wanted to be a leading man, which doesn't mean, and I wanted to be the lead, obviously in the story, but I wanted to be seen as love interest, for example. I could be the love interest in the movie. I could be the lawyer. I could be the best friend. So I tried attacking this from very actively from the side that took pictures, to show real scenes, so everything that I wanted to go away from the stereotypical perspective or the way the Black people are shown and go more to the international uh, possibility of how Black characters have been shown in America or in England, for example. And my objective was England always. I didn't even watch American movies that much. I watched more British television because it was closer to me. Um, and this was more natural because in the British industry, there was not even a question about having a black man and a white man as a couple with the kids, for example. They didn't even question that. They didn't even think about that. In Germany, you have to explain that. You have to tell them this is a possibility. This is something that you could do. And people will not get offended and people will understand because this is reality that we live in right now or not.
Absolutely.
And I was
Yeah.
talking, and I said this like 10, 15 years ago. So today's even, this is not even a question for the public, for the audience. You have to walk around Germany and in any major city, you have so many different, what you say it in English, live couples or whatever. So this is not even a question anymore. So, but you don't see this in the stories, or if you see it, it's still put in a very stereotypical way, or it's put the spots right onto it. I'm thinking, for example, on queer stories, for example,
Mhm.
because I haven't seen so far a story where queerness has been introduced on a complete normal level.
Here
Either
in
the
Germany.
story, in Germany, either the story is about this queer character or his friends or his group or his life, or it doesn't matter at all, but being introduced really normally, I haven't seen it yet. So
I
this,
think I did a film, a series, Catacomben. Did you see that?
no, I didn't see it.
Okay. Well, it was the best friend of the girl was a gay kid. And he was very kind of stereotypical gay, but it wasn't necessarily, they didn't make a theme out of it.
Mhm.
So I think it was, and also, the director of that was, oh man, now his name totally escapes me. I will think of it. I'll put it in the show notes. I'm so sorry. I'm so sorry right now.
I worked with the
Oh,
director, but I don't remember the name. Well, it
yeah, yeah,
sounds.
yeah, yeah. I had to put it one word for you again as soon as I remember your name. But anyway, but he's gay and he's very much out and gay. So it's not. So I think for him, because it's so natural being gay, he just included it in the story as like a natural thing.
Yeah. I think this is one of the advantages that I'm talking about. It's like, if you take more of these people from who have these backgrounds, queer backgrounds, black background, whatever, and you put them in a position where they actually have an influence on the industry, you're going to have different stories. If you have more queer directors, if you have more black directors, more black writers, but as well, people who can make decisions, like on the financial part, like from the network. If you have more editorial, like black, queer, female over 40 in these positions, you automatically will have a different story because they have a different point of view in their
Yeah.
everyday life. I'm German, but my everyday life in Germany is different than any other white German would have because I'm black. So my reality is different. It's still German, but it's different. So obviously my stories that I'm trying to create, because I'm writing as well and producing as well, my perspective and point of view is different on any topic that a white person would have. And the same thing would happen with a queer person. A queer person would have a different German view on situation than I would have. And these are the things that we need to include, not as a token, not as a checklist, but
As a perspective, I
as a
totally
perspective.
agree. Yeah.
And
This
I think
this is also
this is how we're gonna
how I write, is including,
exactly,
why am, because obviously I write myself apart and everything, but it needs to make sense. Why, if it takes place in Germany, why am I here? Why is it
exactly.
being told from this person's perspective?
And
And because
we have to
I've been
understand one more thing. I think we have to understand that we are, for the first time, I think, in our whole lives, we have a unique possibility because we have access to everything. Like, if you're a white director or white writer and you want to just tell a story about black people, for example, you have access to this history. You have access to people you can work with, you can choose to work with. You didn't have this opportunity before. Like, if I wanted to tell a story about, I don't know, a 55 lesbian, I could talk to queer people. I could ask a queer writer, can you write the story with me? So it's going to be authentic. So this is a unique possibility. We have, um, the access to internet, the access to traveling that we have nowadays is unique. So this, therefore, it's really, there's no excuse for not trying to create more stories to include different perspectives.
Yeah, absolutely. And I think it's more interesting. Who wants to see the same thing over and over and over again? By the way, I remember the director's name, Jakob Erla.
Ah, Jakob Ever, yes, great director. I want to work
But
with him too
anyway,
as well
yes.
one time.
Yeah. Oops.
Yeah.
Sorry. Yeah, this is something that I always make it a point when in any of the stories that I write. Why? Why is it being told from my perspective? Or if I'm going to play this part, how does me being a foreigner in Germany affect me? Right? My part, my experience in life, my adult life at any rate, has always been kind of as an outsider. I'm not 100% inside.
Mhm.
So it's a little bit of both. So and I write a lot from that perspective because it's what I know. I mean, it doesn't mean that I don't have good friends who are German and my husband is German and blah blah blah. But but still, if you're not something, then you're still on the outside of it.
Yeah, yeah, that's completely right. And this, yeah, but this is, if you think about it, this is actually what happens all over the world because we have so many Germans leaving this country to live in somebody else, to live in another country,
Yeah.
and they go through this as well. And we are always obviously concerned with foreigners coming to our country, and but it's always been shown in a negative way because, like, the media processes in a negative way. You hardly see it in a positive way or as a solution. For example, I don't like to name movies that I don't like, but there has been a movie I think it's very well at the box office, a German movie, and I hated it. I really hated it. And why I hated it is because it was not because not everybody did a good job on it. They did a great job technique wise, but for the story. And I'm not going to say what the name of the movie was, but in
I
this
won't ask.
story,
I
in this
heard you.
in this story, there was, well, you're going to find out anyway. There was a family taking on a refugee, and they wanted to show how this changes the dynamic of the family. And the way they did it was always like, oh, we're going to take care of this poor guy. And this how it is. Me doing that changes me and brings like conflict with that person. What they should have been done and what has been done for a lot of done in a lot of movies on an international level was you have this person coming into your unit, family unit, and from his perspective, like what he went through, could tell you what you have there is not a problem. You making a problem. This is what I went through. That's a problem. That's tough. And and use that as a solution for your problems to gain more perspective on what you have. And they didn't do this in the movie. So, and I was very disappointed when I see that because every time non-white persons or females are shown, it's always kind of um it's just like, oh, this, of course I'm doing this like white savior. I'm doing this to change in me instead of look what this guy is bringing to the table. And this is a solution. This is actually what changes me by watching him. Yeah. So I would love to see more movies in our country which portray people, German non-white people, uh, as a solution instead of the problem. Like we have
Mm.
done their movies like have been done very well, like Four Blocks, for example. Four Blocks was a movie that it was a TV show that I really really
Yeah.
enjoyed. It was great.
Yeah. My son
All
loved
the
that.
full season was
Yeah.
great. But to me personally, I was missing where are the Arabic policemen? Why is there one of them there?
Mm.
They exist,
Yeah.
and
That would have been an interesting
yeah,
conflict.
this was
Yeah.
way more interesting for me because like you
Yeah.
only shown the drug dealers, the tough guys, the bad guys, and you they did it very
Against
well.
the
They did it really
white
well.
German
Yeah,
policeman. Yeah.
exactly. And you
Yeah.
had the bad Germans on the other side, and you had still like this unit of Arabic clan community and the
Yeah.
struggles they had within, and it was very interesting to see. But at the same time, I was like, why is there nobody looking like them on the positive side? Like this was
Yeah.
missing. Like,
And also, I mean, I don't know if they addressed it or not, but there are a lot of, couples who are Turkish and German and, Arabic
exactly,
and German, and which is also an interesting thing because even though they may have both grown up in Germany, there's still culture clashes.
exactly,
So,
exactly. I mean, you could tell a
yeah.
story, I guess, about that because like you come from America having a German husband. So, this is interesting,
Although we don't really clash culturally. We clash other ways.
All right.
Done. But,
Well,
but not
I was
culturally,
no,
you
I
know.
was going for example for the French, for example. The French make great movies and using especially this topic. Like they say we are all French, but we are different in some ways. We're different French, but we are French,
Yeah.
and these movies work very well. They work as a comedy, they work as a drama, they work as anything.
Yeah.
So, and if you're honest about that, they never said, "Oh, these are foreigners and we are real French." And they say, "No, let's put this together and let's just make something out of these perspectives and make something out of these stories." And this is something that works very well on any level in any country.
Yeah. Because it addresses the human condition. And it's not making how can I say it? It's addressing what is inside of us as opposed to what's outside of us.
Exactly. Let me give
And
you one
dealing with
example.
what's outside of us, but not making a theme out of it. Because,
Exactly.
and that is to me, those are always the most interesting stories anyway. I don't really care where someone comes from, or what color they are, or if they're gay or not. I don't care. I don't care. What I
Exactly.
care about is who they are and what their story is. What do they
Exactly.
want? If it's important to me that they get it, and then, do I want to root for them? That's all I care about.
Exactly.
So,
Let me give you one example of a film that I watched 15, no, not that long ago, but like 5, 6 years ago. And it was to me the story that always stuck with me. It was about it's a French movie about a black French couple and they wanted to get a baby and they can see because the woman can babies and they were trying adoption. And for years and years and years, and this process is really frustrating. And then one day the woman calls that I have a baby for you. And they're like, oh, we have a baby, finally, we're gonna be a family. And the baby's white. So and it's like they were like, oh, okay. And it was such great movies with contained drama and comedy because this couple was so happy just having this kid in their life. And
yeah,
obviously they had culture clash because the family of them were like, it's a white baby. Are you going to raise a white baby? Like we are black and we are. So it was very funny. Then you have the other side. You have the state looking like does this even work? Like a white baby in a black community. So it was a very great movie done very
what was
well.
the name of that? Do you
And
remember?
he has his father's eyes.
He was his
Um,
father. Got it. Okay.
and what I enjoyed about this so much was not only the movie but the experience because I watched it in a movie and I was sitting next to a man, white elderly man, and when we sit down, we looked at each other very briefly and we instantly said we have nothing in common, so we have nothing to. We were like, there's a war between us, like
Yeah.
can't even sit even far away from this man. And after the movie, we looked again at each other and we smiled because we went through the same story. We have seen the same
Yeah.
thing and it's connected
Yeah.
us. And
Yeah.
that's what to me was all what movies are about. You be
Yeah.
both two strangers experiencing one thing together and it brings us closer together. That's what we were going for.
Yes.
So, and
Absolutely.
if you do that, if you can create that, then it's when, in my opinion, hopefully, is when a movie does well in the box office.
Yeah.
So
Did you ever see The Brown Family, the series on
yeah,
Amazon?
exactly. Yeah.
I have to say I love that. I don't know what you thought about it,
Yeah,
but I
I
thought it
loved
was
it as well. I loved it and
yeah.
completely
Yeah.
correctly, they won an Emmy for it. So,
Absolutely. Yeah. And but again, they took a really prickly situation with neo-Nazis. And
exactly.
just briefly for the listeners and the viewers who haven't seen it, it's about these young neo-Nazis living in East Germany, these two kids that are sharing an apartment. And one day a woman shows up at the door. She's African and says, we had a one night stand. And he remembers this drunken one night stand. And here's your daughter. I have to go back to Africa. And so she leaves him with this beautiful little mixed girl who's actually, I know the father of that child, but, and the little girl doesn't know that Nazism is bad. So she starts like doing all these things like hiling and, it's hilarious, but it's so twisted, but it's so good.
And these are the
But
stories who
again, it's about the humanity of it, right? It's the
exactly, exactly,
humanity. Yeah.
exactly.
And you really feel for everybody, but it's hilarious. It's a very funny show. But I want to ask you a couple of things about your career because
Yeah.
I've really seen you grow, and now you're, a working actor, and you've been on this television series for 3 years now. I know that you did a lot of your own networking, and I know that you do a lot of your own research on the media boards and the film commissions looking for projects that are coming in. And then you take the initiative and you write to them. But what do you think was your first real big break? And how did that come about?
It's good question. Whether I even had it yet. Um,
Well, you're going to have
um,
more because, success is a moving carrot,
exactly,
right?
exactly.
So if somebody had
I've
told you you're going to be where you are 10 years ago, you would have been thrilled. But now that you're there, you want
this
to be somewhere else.
this is true. The thing is, I believe my first big break was um when the industry is didn't happen in a particular movie, but when the industry stopped viewing me as a stereotypical as an actor who could only do stereotypical roles. When I got
Yes.
when I got um invited to auditions for normal roles. A normal, I mean, not being a drug dealer, not being an immigrant. When I got invited for roles, to audition for roles like for a doctor or for a lawyer or something like that. And even though the parts might have been small, but they were always very important to me because it showed me that what I was trying to achieve to change my brand in the industry is working because
Hmm.
I wanted to be seen as an actor who could do these roles. Like
Yeah.
I could be a love interest, I could be a lawyer, I could be a doctor, I could be a policeman or stuff like that. So I've been in my career, I had these roles. I was a cop, I was a bus driver, I was and a doctor. I play a doctor right now on this TV show I'm on. I played a lawyer. So this was to me very important to see that not only the industry is changing, but it's changing through what I'm doing as well, and that it works what I'm doing, and that it inspires because you can't do anything on your own. It's just impossible. Always need the help and support of 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 other people in the industry. So, and once you do that, you start to inspire. And I saw that so many more Black actors and not only actors, Black creative persons are coming into this industry and writing different stories and shooting different stories and wanting more. And that's was to me like a breaking point. Um, because it opened up possibilities. And obviously, and when I could play in England for Netflix, it was a show where I played a German dad.
I
This
know.
was
I helped you get
this
that
exactly,
job.
exactly. You did actually. Did exactly. And the why it was so important for me was because they were specifically looking for a Black German dad. And I was like, "Well, this is fantastic." And I asked the director why he wanted to, or why he wrote a character like that, and he didn't understand the question. And I was like, "Yeah, because normally you don't have Black Germans in a normal way as a dad or something." And he still didn't get it. And I explained to him, in Germany we don't have that. We still have very stereotypical with accents and stuff. And he was completely baffled. He was like, "Really? Still?" And to him, it was completely normal to have a Black German dad because the story, and to him, his story was about two Black young men, my sons in the show, who lived abroad, and the dad kind of abandoned them and were trying to reconnect. So, and he was like, of course, they have Black parents, German, and grew up in German, who are German. So it was very refreshing um, to see that and to play a character like that because I could focus on something completely different. I could focus on the relationship and not
Yeah.
having shifting my energy, my focus on an accent that I have to create, or tell a backstory or act a backstory that I come with a boat from Africa and struggled and stuff like that. So I could just be a normal dad from Germany, and this was a really important experience for me.
Yeah. Yeah. And I mean, it was a Netflix series and it did fairly well. And so that was also a really
That was on
big
top, yeah. This
credit.
was helped.
Yeah.
This helps.
Yeah. Yeah. And it was a series where you had a recurring role. So that was a big change,
Exactly. Yeah.
obviously.
Yeah. This
Yeah.
was a huge
Yeah.
change. Yeah.
Yeah. Yeah.
Not only for my career, but as well for my motivation as well. Like so, because I could see what's possible and how it should be, and I'm trying to put this into my career. Everything that I'm learning in England or in America, working there, I always bring back to my own country. My country is
Hmm.
Germany. So I produced a movie, and I'm developing stories right now, and they all have this perspective and they're centered on these circumstances that I learned somewhere else in other projects, how they write, how they create, how they produce, and I bring us to our table. So, and
Yeah.
hopefully this changes the industry again.
Yeah. Absolutely. Yeah. I think we have to. I mean, I was just listening to people complaining basically about, that there aren't enough roles for women over 50 and, blah, blah, blah. I was like, well, get to writing, honey. You know,
Exactly.
seriously. Yeah. If you don't like the roles that you're being offered, there are several things you can do, but one of them is to write better roles, you
Exactly.
know?
This brings me back to branding, to be honest, if I may, just for a second.
Yeah,
And
absolutely.
because I think it's very important because at the beginning I said there's different aspects to branding. The second aspect for me to branding is to understand what helps you as an actor. For example, if I'm seen, or you as a white woman, if you're seen always as a role as a mother, you need to think about, okay, is this a box that helps my career? Is this a box, for example, that has been opened so many times and I can make a living out of it? Then you want to explore this maybe. But if it's a box who is opened once a year or once every 5 years, this doesn't help you. You need to change the narrative. You need to change how you've been seen. You need to change your brand, you know? So, and to me, I always try to explain in my workshops, you have inner, how you say it in English, uh, brand specifics, and you have outer brand specifics, meaning
Well,
like,
interesting. I say you have your essence and you have your personality, but similar.
yeah,
Yeah.
similar. But for example, like, uh,
Personality plus, how you
yeah,
look. Yeah.
exactly. But to me, it's more um, like to me, it's more motivational wise. What I might want to play as an actor might be different than what the how the industry
Industry
sees me.
sees you. Yeah.
Yeah. So, and I might want to explore that. For example, for myself, it was like this. I've been seen as a black man. Therefore, the roles have been drug dealers and immigrants. So I said, I need to explore that because it's a box that only opens once every 5 years. So um, my inner thing was I wanted to play the hero, maybe, but I couldn't just start off there saying, okay, I'm going to put myself in the hero shoes. I took my brand step by step towards this goal. So I started off, okay, I can be, I don't know, a lawyer because I am a lawyer. So I can be a cop because I've seen black cops. So, and tried to introduce, and I made pictures like that. I made interviews like that. I made scenes like that. So the industry, bit by bit, realizes, oh, I'm different, or it can be something different. So that's one thing. And at the same time, what we were talking about, writing your own stuff, creating your own stuff. I think we, as actors, we need to understand that we need to broaden our view. You cannot only focus on acting. It is, I would love if it would work. And a few people, a few colleagues of us, um, uh, they make it like that. Yeah. And we're all inspired by those, that everybody knows the one actor who got discovered on the street and had a huge career. We all know these, but it's just one of
Yeah.
many. And it's not the rule. It's just the
No.
exception.
Yeah.
And since we're inspired by that, we want to think that we are the exception as well, but we're not. Honey, it's just the way it is.
Yeah.
Yeah. It's not going to be that thing.
You're
So you have
you're a
to,
snowflake, but you're not a special snowflake. You're just a
exactly,
snowflake to
exactly,
me.
exactly. You're very special to me, but
Right.
it's just, this industry wants you, but it doesn't need you. Yeah.
Yeah.
So this is something you need to understand. So, and what I think what helps me as an actor is to understand more, what is a writer even doing? How is he thinking? What is the director doing? What is the producer doing? And why are they taking the decisions they are taking? And once you understand that, you can include it as well in how you, and this is important to me when you have a brand as well, how you put your brand out into the industry. Because there are different ways of how you do it. But actors tend to do it from our perspective of wanting a job, of wanting to work, of wanting to be part of something. But we need to put it out there in the way of, what do the people making decisions gain from my information? What can they take away from that? How does it help them to cast me? Where's their benefit? And this is how we have to provide the information to the market so they can use it and understand it for their own needs. Yeah. So for example, I always like to have this image. If you have a dog, you don't feed him by putting it on the shelf that go get it yourself. No, you open up the food, you put it on the plate, you put it on the ground so you can eat. So the more easier you can provide the information to the industry, the faster you get seen and the faster it helps your career. And this is something very important because um, actors tend to have an unwillingness for the business side of this industry. And I
Yes.
totally understand that. I totally understand it.
Yeah.
If it were up to me, I would love to just sit in a cafe watching people and see how they interact with each other so I can use it for my own craft or something like that. But that's not how the industry works. You need to network, you need to create a brand, and you need to understand, how does it work in the industry? How do I work in industry? How do I put my information out that other people can understand what I'm trying to show? And not only that, from the need, I want to be part. This is this is a
I
huge
totally
shift.
agree with you. I think that you have to have, for me, I always say there are two circles, right? There's the circle of how parts that you want to play. Then there's also the circle of how you are already being typecast. And where those two circles come together, those are the perfect roles, because that's the intersection of what you want and how the industry realistically sees you, right? So, or how the possibility of how they can realistically see you. And you must teach them to see you that way. And I also, like, probably starting about three years ago, made a conscious effort to change the way that I was getting cast, especially here in Germany. Not so much in America. In America, I was getting a lot of the roles that I like, more complex people, and but in Germany, I was getting a lot of very one-sided, one-dimensional, cold bitches, basically. Things ice cold, like powerful, like really, really strong, and, no emotion and still. And if you know me at all, it's not how I am.
It, of course, but this is very interesting that you say that, because to me, a little bit, without trying to insult anybody in our industry, but it's a little bit how we Germans make movies. It's not only about me as a black person being shown stereotypical. We show everybody stereotypical. We show the
Yeah.
hero stereotypical. We show women stereotypical.
Yeah.
And
You know how many times I've had to fight against making my accent thicker than it is in German?
for example, it's
Yeah.
just, I mean, of course, these comedies mainly work if you put something stereotypical into it, because like maybe it's based on some kind of truth, but it works once, it works twice, maybe even three times, but then it's done, in my opinion, and like, And if you don't if you don't widen the way how characters are shown, like not only one dimensional or two dimensional, but like from three dimensional uh, way of thinking. Yeah, because that's how we are. Not there's not a bad person and just any born bad and doing bad stuff all the time. You know, it works in a crime show, but it's more interesting to me if you see, like, if you have a bad person, you see something kind to it as well. You know, like it's like
Yeah,
because it gives the character what to do, and it gives me it pulls me into
absolutely.
closer. You know,
The
like
serial killer may, shovel the snow off his neighbor's walk every time it
yeah, or
snows. You never.
he helps his neighbor's kid with something. I don't know.
Yeah,
We do this in Germany with a hero in crime shows. We show that the our policemen struggle in life. But only the heroes in our stories always struggles with his private life. I have no idea how many times I've seen. I don't want to name it, but the very main crime show in our country who show and all the policemen have some kind of struggle personally. And I'm like, okay, I get it. You're bad with money, or you have a problem with your marriage, or I don't even know. But it's only them. It's never the idea of the bad person. It's never shown in its three-dimensional way.
yeah.
So this makes the
And that's
story
what's
all the same.
fascinating is watching people walk this because we are fallible human beings, right? We make mistakes. We good people do bad things. Bad people do good things. If there
Exactly.
even is good and bad, people who are trying to be good make mistakes. People who are trying to be good make grave mistakes, such as
And
murder other people
and you
and
see
cheat
the
on their spouse. And
the
yeah,
best stories that we are watching and are more successful are actually done with characters like these. Let's think about Breaking Bad. The story, a
yeah,
show that went very well. It's about a very, very good man dying, and the only objective that he has is to provide for his
for
family
his
after he is
family.
gone. And
Yeah,
therefore is doing something very, very stupid and very, very dangerously, but for a good reason. And the show was great, not because only of this character, because there have been so many different characters who have been shown from different sides and their motivation has been shown. And it's made this whole story so rich and so interesting.
absolutely.
And that's
That was
why it
such a
works so
great
well.
series. Yeah. So Jerry, we're coming up, or we've just passed the 1 hour mark. Do you have what's your best advice for actors today?
Well, the industry is changing and it's always in movement, sometimes for the better, sometimes for the worse. And the most important thing to me as an actor is we need to be active. We need to move. These actors who have a career at all are actors who are moving. If you just wait for your agent or for somebody to call you for a part, I believe it's going to be a really, really frustrating career for you. And being active to me means not only focus on myself as an actor, but focus on the whole industry, on how it works and how decisions are made. So we need a deeper understanding of what does a casting director do? What does a director do? What does a writer do? What does a UP do? What does a redacteur do? These are things that are to me very important, that we understand these positions, how they work, why they're taking the decision they're taking, and how we can implement our information to them that they can use it. If you do that, I believe you have a high possibility of having a career.
Excellent. How can people get a hold of you?
Well, I have a webpage. It's www.actorsmarketing.de. I post the dates of my workshops there, and obviously in social media, I have like on Facebook, I have a page as well, Actors Marketing. And you can either write to me if you have any questions, or you need some advice, or you want some information, deeper information about that. That's the best way to reach me.
Okay. I
Don't
love
write
that.
me with social media. Don't write me with social media because like I'm very bad when it comes to private messages, and I never get it.
Okay.
Snakes.
But you can follow Jerry. You can follow him, but don't
Yes,
write it.
exactly. Follow me, don't write me. It's a harsh
Jerry,
thing to
this has
say. It's
been
a harsh
such
thing
a
to say.
pleasure. This has been such a pleasure. Absolutely.